Hey there, this is Pastor Purple. I am doing an update to our We Are at Home, we're on lockdown, tips and tricks for parents. What is working for us? Okay, so what you know is on day one, we use structure and free play, and that really worked. So we've built that into our structure. So we have structure and we build in a 2 hour minimum free play time where the children get to pick what they do. They get to go outside and play to their heart's content. Now, I know that some other parents feel uncomfortable with this, and I think that it's important to do what's right for your family, bearing in mind, of course, that not everyone is making the same choice as you, and they're making those choices for good reasons. So let's try not to be judgmental about other parents, but let's try to acknowledge that people are trying to make the best decisions they can. And in this part of the world, the Netherlands, the sun has been shining beautifully for days. So locking kids in the house can be very difficult. But if you have a small garden, you can have the children out in the garden and let them play without too much difficulty. What we have to remember is that we need to be mindful when we are in public with at-risk groups and try to minimize our contact with people who are at risk, because those are the people who are at greatest effect. So we've used free play and we've used structure, and that has worked brilliantly. Yesterday, our tips and tricks was pencils and whiteboard, and let me tell you, went down brilliantly. I actually don't know when the whiteboard came out. I was busy working when my husband had, we divided and conquered. So my husband had 2 of the children and I had 1. And the whiteboard was clearly used, it was clearly loved, it was over and over again out, and I found it in varying corners of the house where, you know, sneakily they'd gone to write something. My toddler writing secret messages in circles because that's her favourite thing to do. So that was used brilliantly. And pencils, oh my goodness, that worked amazingly. Even the child who did not want to do a pencil activity did art, and they decided that they were going to do it in quite a scientific way. So they were looking at shapes and how many shapes can you get into a circle. So they used a ruler to see how many different shapes you could get into a circle with a ruler. Apparently they came up with 13 different shapes. Listen, it's a bit of math and science that I was like, okay, who knew you could make art so fun? And great, they learned something. And for myself and the artistic children, we enjoyed drawing. There'll be a blog on that to follow. So that journey of art will be on that blog. And we then took it up a notch. So in free play time, we then decided to do painting. So part of the free play time was then spent painting by choice, by request. I was like, please go play, and they wanted to claw back some of their time through painting. So that worked really well. Painting is good because, of course, it develops different parts of the brain. It engages you in a different way. You can conversate at the table. So having a conversation with a 2-year-old and a 10-year-old at the table as we're all engaged in art was really fun. We got to use new words. We got to ask different colours about different questions about colours. We were mixing paints to see what worked. We were using different kinds of paint, different mediums, different materials, and that really was quite good. It was fun. It was interactive. You're learning in a creative way. It's really just opening up your eyes. And it's been requested again, so more painting this week. I think we'll run out of paints eventually, but that's fine. Tip for painting: relax, especially if you're like me and you're a bit of a neat freak or a bit of an organized person. So when you do art and are having creative, it's messy in a very controlled way. When doing art with children, be relaxed. Like, my son was squeezing out paint like it was nobody's business. I was like, you're never going to use that much paint in this art session. But then I thought about it and I thought, why are you freaking out? Like, what is the challenge here? It's a water-based art paint. It doesn't cost very much money. You can use it, you know, just let it dry and then add water if need be. It is okay to let him experiment with paint and he's getting it all over him, and that's okay. Relax. Don't be so controlling. And that meant that he was a lot freer to kind of just mess around and play, and so was my daughter. And she was just expressing herself, saying, I like this colour, or I like that colour, can I have more of this colour? And having a great time. So I think art was really a winner. And if you're really intentional, then you can add a lot more subjects to the art. So like I said, one of our children did art with their dad and add geometry. So that was really interesting. They added a whole bit of maths to their art. The boys were with, the other children were with me, and then they were adding colour mixing, looking at the seaside and how we develop pictures and all sorts of different things. So you can add nature themes, you can talk about lots of different things simply by using art as a tool. So that was really what worked very well. But we have a new trick for today, of course, because every day I'd like to give you a new tip. And today's tip is actually books. If you are like us, then you have a house full of books, which we genuinely do, some of which have not been opened, some of which, you know, you can only read so many books. So after a while, there's just extra books in the house. But you may have had a good attempt. I will say that all the children's books in our house have been used. There is not a children's book in our house that hasn't been read. So we had to buy a few new extra books. And I happened to be in a bookstore in London, and that bookstore has 10 books for £10. And so I was able to buy 10 new books for the kids, and it's wonderful. And I will say that this evening, when we'd had quite a full day and it was very successful, everything had gone very well. There was not so much arguing, not so much, you know, that general kind of uneasiness of being at home all the time, and everyone rubbing shoulders because we're not separated from each other. So when we got to the end of the day, and that's began to, you know, you're sitting too close to me, you move over, that kind of niggles came, that kind of little bits that kind of picked away at each other, we got out a pile of books. And I said, okay, we're going to read. And one child was in a bad mood, the other child was refusing dinner, and the child that loves books was sat next to me, as much of a book nerd as I am, was happy to begin reading. And so I just started slowly with easy books that had lots of pictures, that were easily expressed, but had quite deep ideas. And so we had, like, this one is World in Danger, and this is a book that actually was really inspiring. I'm sorry it's back to front. World in Danger is written by an 8-year-old little boy. It's a song, and in it, it talks about all of the animals and the way that we're damaging the planet, which is very current, and then gives us a really great talking point. This one was funny, made us miss our library book, so do not bring a dragon to the library. Was really funny, and just, it's got lots of great pictures in, lots of diversity within the pictures, lots of yeah, just funny little stories and moments. And then I wasn't expecting this, but we had Little Miss Inventor. Little Miss Inventor is a really great book. It's from the Little Miss range. I don't know if you like those. My children love the Little Miss and Mr. Men books. So this one was really good because it's clearly written from the perspective that girls can be more than just silly, which is very nice, and can be more than princesses. So it was clearly written for that reason. But when you get to the end of this book, there is a challenge for the children to think for themselves, what could they invent? And that started a nice conversation. But this idea of just reading books was really fabulous. I don't know what your favourite books is. I will try and do a book review on the website. So I'll post the blog site with pictures of the books that we're using. But what I've done today is posted to Facebook, to the Facebook groups of our local churches, the books, lists from the local community. So the libraries have now extended the audio book section for smaller children. for teenagers, so you can get free books even if you're not a member. My kids are members because we love books, so we're members of the library, but that means you can get free books to listen to. And if you're like us, you're living in a second language and you spreek een beetje Nederlands, but your children think your Dutch is not as great, you can then have you both listen together to somebody read it properly, which is great for us trying to learn the language and get our pronunciation, but it's also really great for the child because you're listening with them. They still get that kind of warm feeling, but it's not you struggling to pronounce words you may not know what they mean. So that's really a great tip, but there are other resources there. So we've put those onto the church webpage, and we've also put those onto my Facebook page, so you can get them in those places, and hopefully they will go onto the blog at a later point when the blog releases, hopefully next week. So books is my tip. Now, if you, like us, your library is closed and so you can't get to your library, but you have a really great church community, this is where your pastor can help you. So there are some families who, like us, are book lovers and have mountains of books in their house, mountains of absolute mountains of books, but would be quite happy to share with kids at church. So your pastor can help you by accessing those parents. If you call your pastor, so if people call me and they say, actually, I'd like some Dutch books, I have a box that's ready to go of Dutch language books. I'm sure we could get together a pile of English language books, and then we can deliver those to you. We can put them in a bag, we can put them on your doorstep, and then you can spray it to the amount you want to spray it and then take it into the house if you're very worried about the corona. But we can help to deliver those things. So it's worth asking your pastor if they know, or if you know someone in your church community who loves books, approaching them and saying, hey, I can't access my local library. Are you willing to share some books for the duration of the lockdown period? And sharing books is a great way to just have something new to read, invigorate the children, but have some quiet time built into the day, because sometimes we're so focused on all the things we can do, and we're looking at baking and we're looking at making things and art and all these other things, but actually reading a book very quietly can be nice. It can be calming, it can be reassuring, and it can help you to discuss and have bonding time with your child. And having books like Do Not Worry is one of the books we have, or Little Leopard on the Move was a great book because it talks about a worried leopard who thinks about leaving their home. And I think at a time when we're dealing with corona, books can really prompt thoughts and conversations in ways that just asking a question may not be able to do. And then you can reassure them based on what you've read. So if you don't have the language, often the book has the language to tell you, actually, this is reassuring to my child. If I say to them that, look what you can do, look what you can see, that's it. So this is where a pastor can help you. If you've got a great pastor, and if you've got a book lover in your church community, then sharing books is one way you can do that. And of course, you can just get a bag for life, put some books in it, pass it on to the next family, and your pastor can act as a delivery person, or you can deliver to the next door neighbour, or however you want to do that if you have that available to you. So please don't forget that that's what we're here for, and I hope that this helps you if you are at home with children. So my tip is books. I have lots. This one was the toddler's favourite, Stomp Dinosaur Stomp, because she wanted to act out every single thing I read, which is hilarious and is funny, and you can read the same book for an hour because you just do Stomp Dinosaur Stomp, and then you stomp around the living room, and then you do the next thing, and then you do that Chomp Dinosaur Chomp, and so on and so forth. So enjoy. There's lots of different materials out there, and should you need anything, any resources that I've mentioned today, then please do drop a comment or private message me, and I will see how we can arrange something for you in your local area. Have a blessed and wonderful evening. I hope you get some rest tonight and we can prepare to be parents who are amazing tomorrow and who get through just another 24 hours with our kids at home. Be blessed and see you next time. Bye bye.